Hey guys, welcome back to the Crazy Cozy Corner. I'm Brianna, and this is the Crazy Cozy Corner. We're doing our monthly reading wrap-up, so on to that. Happy Halloween, guys! But I guess when you're watching this, happy Turkey Month. Yeah, so I decided that this month for October's reading wrap-up, I do something a little bit different. That I do my Halloween makeup, which is nothing crazy because I'm just being Wendy Darling from Peter Pan because my dog can be Nanny. Anyways, not important. I just figured I'd do my makeup and talk about what I read this month. So we started off, like I ended off with in my last reading wrap-up, was that I finished Breaking Dawn. So I finished the Twilight series, like the main books. And that's all we're gonna say about that because I talked about it last month. But I did continue the Twilight craze because I was able to get The Short Second Life of Bree Tanner in audiobook form. So I read that to start off my month if we're gonna skip Breaking Dawn, and it was okay. It wasn't revolutionary. Like there was not much that it really added, other than that Riley was lying the entire time to the newborns. But I mean, we kind of obviously knew that. So it didn't add much to the series, in my opinion, except another broken-hearted vampire. But yeah, so I rated that 3 stars because it was okay. It wasn't bad, like the writing wasn't terrible. And yeah, that's it. Then next I started the Elemental trilogy by Sherry Thomas. I can't remember. No, it was a different Thomas that I read. But it was called The Burning Sky. That was the first book in the trilogy, and I rated it 4 stars. It's about this mage, Seaborn, Ilanth Seaborn, and she's an elemental mage, and she can control 3 of the 4 elements, and somehow she may or may not bring down lightning, and that gets the attention of Atlantis. So the prince of it, or of the domain, which is kind of connected to Atlantis, it's not very super clear. Like there's different mage realms and stuff, but then he saves her, and they start going on an adventure together. It's kind of like a strangers to friends, and then friends to enemies, and then enemies to friends again in the book. But it was cute. It was young adult, so I liked it because it focused more on the character building than like the physical intimacy between characters, which is just a preference of mine. Next, I was so excited for this. This was a book club book. Oh, I'm just making sure that I blend. I'm just going at it. Oh, how dare me forget. Anyways, it was a book club book, and it was The Ministry of Time. And I feel bad to all my fellow book club people because I was the one that recommended it, and I feel terrible because it was not for me. It was not great. I rated it 1 star. It's by Kaliane Bradley. It was very impersonal, and it's like, it was just very impersonal for what it was, and it just very boring. There was no, like there was some foreshadowing, but it was like, it was telling you, and there wasn't any like intrigue. There wasn't any I don't know how to explain, like underlying plot. It just was not there. Like we were being told everything, and there wasn't, it was just very, it didn't have enough emotion. It didn't have a lot of I just didn't like it. Yeah, it was not my favorite. For what it was, the ending actually was decent. I just was not a fan of how we got there. Yeah, but that was The Ministry of Time. It has a great book cover. I'm glad that I didn't buy it though. Yeah. Next, I feel so bad. Next, I read The Fireborne Blade by Charlotte Bond. I rated it 3 stars. It was good. It was cute. What was it? Maybe 200 pages. It did. I think it wrapped it up like really fast in the end, but like getting from point A to point B, like you could kind of see it. If that makes any sense. But it was cute. So it's about this, and I always forget their names, but it's about this knight, and this knight is trying to go after this dragon called like the white, she's old lady, white lady, can't remember, but she has like, she's been alive a long time, the dragon, and so she's going after because there's been some humiliation on this knight's part, and they're trying to like win their way back into their kingdom, which, you know, good for her, I guess. But yeah, we meet a squire. Out of my way. And it's just the adventures of trying to go slay a dragon. You know, it's probably pretty interesting. It was really cute. I don't think I'll finish the series because it wrapped it up nice enough that I don't really care to finish this series. It wrapped up the series it wrapped up the book really well. It wasn't like a cliffhanger, so I'm not feeling inclined to finish the series, but it was a cute novella. What is, like, I guess I have to look that up, which if it's longer than a certain number of pages, it's like a novel, and if it's less than that, it's novella. Anyways, whatever. Next, I read Just One Taste by Lizzy Dent, and I rated it 3 stars. It was okay. It's a romance. This girl, one day I will remember names. That is not today. This girl, her father dies, and she inherits his restaurant, but she's kind of resented her father for a really long time, because, like, in her eyes, her father kept choosing the restaurant over her mom and her, and so that's how she feels about it. She doesn't. It's hurtful to be in the place, and she was very confused as to even why she got the restaurant in the first place, because she hasn't really been in contact with her father that much. But of course there has to be someone that works there because it's romance. So there's a guy that works at the restaurant. The restaurant is called Nikki's. I do remember that. Maybe I'll remember names, but I highly doubt it. But they have to complete her father's cookbook, and so, you know, they travel to Italy and they get to know each other, and one thing leads to another, and you'll have to read the book to find out what actually happens between them. But it's romance. It's basically Hallmark, except a little bit spicier. Yeah. The next book I read / listened to, which I listened to the first one too, was The Perilous Sea, which is the second book in the Elemental trilogy, by Sherry Thomas. I was reading it backwards because you know how it goes by last name, first name? That's what was happening. But it was probably my least favorite of the series. Trying to remember what exactly happens. Oh, yeah. Can't really say too much without spoiling. So we're still following Elanthe Seaborn and the Prince Titus, and like their efforts to possibly take down the Bane, which I think is pretty much same thing as from the first book. But yeah, there may or may not be a second elemental mage. They might be trying to go to a summer cottage together. Who knows? But it was, and my makeup brush just fell apart. It was my least favorite of the series, but it was still definitely needed for the series to happen. I finished it on my way to my friend's apartment, and when I was going to visit her. And then another book that I listened to on my way back home from her place was The Immortal Heights, which is the third book in the trilogy, which I rated, I thought I changed it. But to me, it was a 4-star. At first, like, when I was reading the epilogue, I was like, oh no, this is not, because I wasn't understanding what exactly happened, because it wasn't that smooth of a transition. It does explain itself eventually, but until it explained itself, I was not having a good time. So basically, they defeat the Bane, and in the epilogue, Elanth Steveborn, I hope I'm saying her name right. She forgets who she is, but it's explained through it. But when I first realized that, I was looking up the ending, because I was like, this is not how it's ending. I will not read it. And the review I read was like, they gave it like a 3-star rating, because she could only remember when Titus needed her, which is not the case. So I was like, oh, if that's the ending, then that's like definitely 3 stars. But after reading it myself, that was not how I interpreted it. It was, she wanted to be able to live a normal life, and get through, like, lack of a better term, the conservatory, but the college that she wanted to go to. She wanted to go through that without all the stuff from the basically war weighing down on her. And so it was her choice, but she was going to regain her memories when she chose, like after she got her master's. So I didn't think it was that like bad. So it went from a 3 to a 4-star for me, because there's things that are wrong with that I didn't enjoy in the book, but it was still pretty good. I didn't like how the fight went down with the Bane. It just was very unsatisfying how it ended. But that's a me problem, not a them problem. But yeah, that was a 4-star. I'm gonna change my rating again, because for some reason it didn't take. But the last book that I was able to read this month was The Dream Thieves, and this is the Raven Cycle. I think they're like 5 books, so it's not even a trilogy. The Raven Cycle series, and it was a 3-star for me. It was weird. I've always been bothered by Blue, and like her knowing who her true love is, but then like, I'm gonna choose, which is whatever. But like, the boy she did choose, like, generational curses, man. Unless they've proven they've broken those generational curses, you can look at their family and, like, no offense, like, but you either go one direction, like you are the complete opposite, or you are exactly like the person that raised you. And like, it takes a lot of healing and like reflection to get to where you don't have to be either or. You can be somewhere in the middle, because maybe there was something like not necessarily good, but like you can see that your parent was broken or whatever. But until, like, this kid's 17, so he probably hasn't done a lot of like reflection and stuff like that, because he just escaped that. But we're seeing his anger. Sorry, we're talking about Adam. Like, if you haven't read it, like, you could skip through this because it probably won't make much sense, but you can see like the anger and stuff like that. And I am like, he needs to work on himself and like trusting people before even considering a relationship. And like, I think Blue is just trying to like him so that she could say screw you to fate, which, I mean, in this book, do you really escape fate? But yeah, like, she had been bothering me because like, she didn't have to choose either of them. Like, she could just have been friends, but she just, like, had to hurt people. And then finally realized that she actually liked Genzi. And poor Ronan. Like, his life is weird and kind of messed up. And, like, that Kavinsky or whatever, that was a weird plot. A weird plot. And the way it ended, actually a cliffhanger. I'm going to continue the series. But, like, it was a weird ride. It was very weird. And it took me 23 days to actually read it. Because it wasn't bad, but it wasn't like, oh, I want to keep reading it. So I'd put it down for like a week at a time and then finally get back to it. But I finally finished it because it was a library book. And I was like, I need to get it turned in because my 3rd renewal happened. And yeah. But that was the last book I read. I am currently reading The Dead Cattail Assassin. I'm only a chapter into it. And I don't know how I feel. I really don't. I was able to like skim most of the chapter and I wasn't having a good time. So will I finish it? We'll see. It might get better after. But I'm gonna do this and come back so I don't stab myself in the eyeball. Oh yeah, I also started and DNF'd The Time Traveler's Wife. I tried to listen to the audiobook and I got maybe 10 minutes in, if that, and they were already getting a little frisky. And when it's going that hard in the beginning of the book, it only goes up from there, from my experience. So it was not my cup of tea. But I'm still planning on watching the movie. I just will not read the book. It's actually one of the books I'm unhauling. I have them right here. So, The Time Traveler's Wife, I'm gonna give it to a good home. And then The Only Woman in the Room. It was an okay book. This one I read a long time ago. Not that long ago. It was this year, but I think it was before I started videoing myself talking to myself. It talked about like sexual assault, and there's just a certain way, like you have to handle it a certain way, and I just wasn't a fan of how it was handled, in my opinion, in this book. So it just isn't something I'm going to read again. And what I really want for my shelves is, one, pretty books, but also books that I would read again. So yeah, that's my thing. Very bad. That's my thing. So those are the 2 books I'm hauling. I'm gonna hold on to them until like I do more of my TBR tackle and get more books off my shelf, so that maybe I can put them in free libraries or stuff like that. But yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that was my month. When I get dressed and all costumed up, I will put a little clip right now. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my little bunny trail of talking about the books I read this month. Thank you. Did I say thank you? But again, thank you thank you so much for watching. I enjoyed talking with you and putting on my makeup. Hopefully, you know, I'll look cute. What you do. But again, like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, comment. Let me know if you've read any of these books or what you've thought of them. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!